Hello everybody, welcome to UK Gaming Network. I'm Brian, also known as UK Jane Zoidberg, and this is Best 10, where I offer up my favourite games to fit a selected theme. It's never been uncommon for games to come out on multiple systems, and while most of the time those releases will happen at the same time, there are those games that will become successful on one system and end up being converted to another later. This was especially true in the 16-bit era. In this video, I'm going to count down 10 games that were first made for the Commodore Amiga and then converted to the SEGA MegaDrive. In some cases, this made the game better. In others, it altered the experience in a way that made it more appealing to a console audience. Once again, this ranking is merely my own personal opinion and shouldn't be taken too seriously. Your own ranking could be completely different to my own, and if so, please let me know what yours is in the comments. Now though, let's kick things off with my number 10. In 1991, French developer Lancourt produced the superb racing game Vroom for the Atari ST and Amiga, but by 1993 they had sold the game to Domark, and they had just acquired the official F1 license. F1 is the Mega Drive version of that game, and was ironically converted back to the Amiga a few months later. Whether the console release is better than Vroom or not is open for debate, but I'd definitely argue that the game is just as good. The joypad controls work well, and it has a complete selection of tracks, but the changes to the game's HUD are less successful. Why make the amount of cars that you need to overtake in the arcade mode a number rather than the easy to understand icons? Such niggles, however, don't stop it from being a great game though. Second Samurai is one of those rare occasions where the Amiga and console versions, despite sharing the same name, are completely different games and were released a year apart. The Amiga version was a disappointing follow-up to the first Samurai, lacking much of the appeal of the original, but the Mega Drive game is a lot more enjoyable and only suffers by association to the franchise. The same team at Vivid Image, comprising of Raphael Checo and Mev Dink, were responsible too, and it features some truly excellent graphics. Interestingly, it was almost never released at all, because when Sony bought out Psygnosis, they cancelled all console games that were currently in production, and an agreement with Vivid Image was only released at the 11th hour. There's no denying that the Mega Drive version of Syndicate is better looking and smoother than what we got on the Amiga. Famed programmer ZZKJ, who made the Amiga versions of Smash TV and Super Hang-On, also did a really good job on making the game work for a controller. While this ultimately meant that the game isn't quite as deep or complex as it was on computers, it also makes it much more palatable for the console players. Bullfrog had previously tried to bring both Populous and Powermonger to consoles, but neither of those are particularly playable without a mouse and keyboard. "12 months after hitting the Amiga, Leander came to the Mega Drive with a new name, The Legend of Galahad. To all intents and purposes though, it's exactly the same game, just a bit more polished and better looking. Improvements to the visuals include some nice parallax scrolling, more colours used on the enemies, and even some more impressive armour for the central hero, including a very well animated cape. The Amiga original was one of the first games that I played that was compatible with a 2-button joypad, so I actually played it with a Mega Drive controller long before I played the console version. Even in 1991, when I first set eyes on Wolfchild on the Amiga, it felt like a conscious effort by Core Design to make a console-style game for the Amiga. No surprise then that it felt more at home on the Mega Drive. The excellent design helped the game to stand out, with the game style changing every time your character changes into a werewolf. Simon Phipps's excellent graphics are near identical in both versions, but on the Sega console it is all a bit smoother and faster, with some nice detailed backgrounds. I still have some issues with the level design, but the game is simply more satisfying to play on console. Both Skid Marks and Super Skid Marks were games that I played to absolute death on my A1200. It would be the game that my friends would want to load every time they came over, and it blew us all away with its realistic vehicle movement and technical achievements. It still looks fantastic all these years later too. Going back to it today though, I'm surprised by how little game there actually is beneath the surface. Codemasters handled the MegaDrive version though, passed masters at multiplayer races thanks to Micro Machines, and the result is a game that has a lot more to it, even if it's not quite as technically accomplished. Thanks to the J-Cart, it catered for 4 players as well. Another game that received a new name as it moved over to console, and also a new publisher in the shape of Electronic Arts, Fatal Rewind was the snappier but less memorable name for the Killing Game Show. Like many of the games on this list, there aren't any seismic differences between the two versions, it just feels better to play. The Amiga version had its fantastic intro sequence, but forced you to choose between music or sound effects, and you had to use up on your joystick to jump, whereas the MegaDrive version offered multiple difficulty levels, ran a bit smoother, and had a better soundtrack. Either way, great game regardless of which one you pick. Cannon Fodder is, of course, a bona fide Amiga classic, and for very good reason. The classic gameplay and design survived the move over to consoles intact, although for many players, using a joypad would never adequately replace the precision of a mouse. It was, however, one of the 30 or so games that were compatible with the Sega mouse, and using that was much more preferable. The graphics are slightly more detailed than the original, making good use of the extra colours, but I felt that the music isn't quite as good. It was converted by a small team going by the name of Panel Comp, who had also handled the PC version of Populous 2. I can't imagine there are many people watching this video who have heard of Zoom. It certainly passed me by completely in 1988 when it came out, and I only played it for the first time a couple of years ago. Coming from Discovery Software in the same year that they produced the excellent Amiga version of Arkanoid, this is a variation on the arcade classic Amiga. On the Amiga, however, it's too sluggish to be more than mildly diverting, and that's where the MegaDrive version comes in. Arriving 2 years after the original, with a conversion handled by Japanese developer Sigma Protech, it was the game that it should have been first time around, with larger sprites and faster gameplay, so it felt just like the arcade-style game that you'd expect. I could really do without the repetitive sound effects though.
Come on, boy. 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 Come on, boy.
Chuck Rock from Core Design was one of the games that sold me on the merits of the Amiga over the Atari ST, where everything just looked and sounded nicer. The Mega Drive version manages to be the same leap again over the Amiga. Whereas the original made you choose between music or sound effects, this has both. Extra colours used in the graphics make the cartoon animation really stand out, and because it's full screen, you can see more of the play area too. To cap it all off, the gameplay is slightly smoother and faster. I will always have a fondness for the Amiga original, but I have to concede that console players had the better deal. So those were my best 10 Amiga games on the Sega Mega Drive. If there's a game that you think I should have included, please feel free to tell me why in the comments. This was a subject chosen by one of our Discord members. If you haven't joined yet, you can find the link in the video description. We regularly post on there about what's happening on the channel, and you can find a section dedicated to game suggestions. If watching these videos early is something that appeals to you, check out our VIP offer as well for just £1.99 a month. We really appreciate all the support for what we do. The full playlist of previous episodes in the Best 10 series should be on screen now if you have missed any. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, happy retro gaming everybody. Bye for now.